We are using the corpse of a dead spider as a gripping mechanism.
They climbed over the fences to take a 100-kilometer walk back to their hometown.
Mind reading, the new method that seems to be able to reconstruct language from brain activity.
Let Alexa tell us the good night stories through the voices of our dead grandmaster.
Hi and welcome to episode... Where are we? Hi and welcome to episode 36 of TechReview. Every 2 weeks we gather to discuss the hottest topics in technology, innovation and social media. On camera 4 today we have Alex. On camera 3 we have Vincent. On camera 2 this is Henrike. Almost didn't recognize her. And on camera 1, oh, this is the wrong one. Damn it, this is me. Hi, I'm Tarek. TechReview is a collaboration of Ideas Engineering, Free Tech Academy and upday.com. There's the right camera. So, and as you clearly can see, today is a very special episode. We dressed up for Halloween and we are going to talk about scary news. And in preparation, I thought, yeah, it's probably very easy to find scary news because around about 50% of the news that we are gathering usually are very scary. So let's see what we found today. And today...
But at the same time, honestly, when I was going through like all the articles, I had a bunch of them where I was like, okay, this is spooky in a way, but like very subjectively spooky. So which one should I actually bring today, which is really like spooky for everyone? I don't know. So it was still hard to make a decision.
I mean, interestingly, this is also kind of a psychological observation, right? So what do we think subjectively is spooky? I mean, usually you watch television and politic news, and this is very, very scary. If you take a look at what politically happens in Europe right now, this is really, really scary. But this is subjective, right? And so let's see what we selected today for what actually fuels our individual nightmares in terms of technology. And my random generator...
You're setting the bar pretty high now. Looking at the articles that I brought, I mean, I don't know if they fuel my nightmares.
I'm sure they do.
Great.
Well, if it doesn't work for the articles, your face, your pumpkin face does today.
Okay, so I'm just gonna smile then. And when I move my eyebrows, my pumpkin gets bigger.
The random generator tells me that I am going to start.
How random is this generator?
Sorry, so what?
How random is this generator? No, but go ahead.
I was very eager to start with this because this is actually a nightmare. Because listen. Imagine there's a field of science and robotics which is called Necrobotics. And this is a real thing. This is not something that I came up. This is a real article that I picked from TechCrunch, and it's actually not so recent, but July 2022, so almost recent. And this the field of necrobotics is actually using deceased dead animal corpses for robotic purposes. In this particular example, the scientists are using a dead spider and they plug it into their machine because the gripping mechanism of the spider is steered hydraulically. And hydraulically means we can very easily manipulate this by applying pressure. So in this example, we are using the corpse of a dead spider as a very, very delicate gripping mechanism as we know it from these, what's it called, these gripping machines where you are collecting sweets or gifts from like this thing. And this is literally my nightmare. But in terms, I mean, of course, it's very, very interesting that we can use these things. And we also know that in science, scientists were using magnetic fields on cockroaches, I think, having cockroaches, and they were then able to be remote controlled. And the scientists were able to like change the magnetic fields, and the cockroaches were walking left and right. And so we can also manipulate living organisms. And so in terms of Necrobotics, I am very curious to see when we will start manipulating more complex corpses. I'm not saying human corpses, but other corpses of animals where we stimulate maybe the freshly deceased brains and making, I don't know, other limbs move and creating some kind of robotic zombies, because this is kind of what the scientists are doing here. And so in terms of scary, spooky news, I personally think this is pretty absurd, but a real thing. Yeah. So, do you have?
There's a TV show
thoughts
about that. I have thoughts. There is a TV show about that. It's called Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And they have, the army of the dead basically, and moving them from north to south to. And now I'm just realizing that the army of the spiders is going to come for us.
When you said
they're coming for you.
Yes, only for you. Only for those who fear spiders. No, but I mean, you said it, Tarek, like it's just a question of time until they use other corpses, maybe not human, but actually this is where this is going eventually, right? And this is kind of a spooky thought, because I saw like the teaser from your article. I didn't read it because I was waiting for your review, and I didn't realize that it is actually like a real, corpses of a spider, which is really just icky.
Yeah.
Like just thinking about seeing this little video, and this is like a dead spider. I also hate spiders, but where this can go eventually with like dead human bodies, like real zombie apocalypse kind of scenario, it's disturbing.
Yeah. And the scientists and engineers, they always say it's so hard to mimic nature, and nature has the most amazing like electronics in terms of our brain and our limbs and our very delicate fingers, and it's so hard to replicate this in robots. So it might be that at some point of time the scientists and engineers are saying, yeah, it's too hard to replicate this, just reuse what we already have. And then we are collecting, actually, let's start with small things like spiders or cockroaches, but then grow up and use, I don't know, a dead horse or something like that as a transport thing. Just put in like an electronic brain adapter, and then we can simply have, I don't know, automotive software like autonomous driving steering this horse.
Okay, stop now, because there is a decay process. There's a decay process, and I don't want to sit on a decayed horse towards work. And no, it's not funny to ask yourself how many what's the horsepower of this thing, because obviously it's 0 to minus something, because it's dead. And once again, there are so many TV shows, and that's really disgusting and scary, and I don't like you anymore. And now you gave me.
I mean, think about Körperwelten, this exhibition, like, which is full of potential like zombies that can, brought to life. I mean, not for reals, but like make use of those horses and corpses of humans.
Let's go to all the natural history museums and bring the dinosaurs back.
Jurassic Park. Yeah,
yep.
It's exactly going to happen. Yeah.
This is how it started. A dead spider fishing. What is this anyway in the picture, in the GIF?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
It looks like
I absolutely did not think about this thing.
We're looking at this anime and at this GIF way too long.
Please,
yeah, let's move on, please. I can't see it anymore.
And now, this.
Vincent, how about your first scary article?
Which is the one?
Yes. I think it's this one, right?
Yes. So I had it's very interesting today there were two things happening where I thought, no, I wanna include them. So I did not submit the articles I wanted to bring. So this is actually very new news. And this is very scary to me because I have to say sometimes when we talk about how other political systems are not like Europe, not like maybe the democratic Western world we know, sometimes, I mean, I've never been to China. I've never been to the deeper parts of Russia or, I don't know, Belarus or something. So when I hear this, I always ask myself, how accurate is this? So now there are those videos of actual Chinese people fleeing from Foxconn, from the Foxconn factory where iPhones are produced every day. Because of the Chinese lockdown, they had to stay in that facility for quite some time with with not a lot of food, not a lot of places to sleep. They actually were forced to do over hours so that everybody had a space to sleep, and they were kept at this facility because of the no COVID policies in China. And then they climbed over the fences now in the end to take a 100-kilometer walk back to their hometown. So when we ask ourselves how bad are the political systems, and is it actually, how accurate is our news about that? In the future, I definitely will think of this article, or a lot of these articles, I mean, this is just one of them, and I will think of the workers who produce iPhones every day but are forced by the political system to stay there and do over hours for weeks in the end, or who knows how long this this lockdown is going to be, if they do not climb over the electric fences. To me, this is very shocking, and to me, this is scary.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that we are always whining about, right? Whining about in the Western world, that we live in this luxurious position that we are buying this iPhone, and we try not to think about that from ecological point of view. It is very, very hazardous, but it's also probably constructed in slave labor. Yeah, or like the clothes that you're wearing, and especially if they are very, very cheap, then the reason they are cheap is because they come from a factory where child labor is used. And those are the things that we try not to think about, but this is actually very scary news.
No, and I mean, we all know those pictures of Tim Cook going through the factories of Foxconn, and we know that every big company that has some kind of a social presence or a social conscience better, that those companies, they have those fair work acts and everything they sign, but in the end, right, sometimes there are those things happening like that one, and it's in China, a place that is jumping to be an industrial state, and is so relevant. I mean, on the other hand, we talk about a Chinese company buying up parts of the Hamburg port, and we must be aware that this is the kind of stuff that then is very close to us, and it's very connected to us. The money that we make through this are connected to those kind of things. I'm not blaming Apple, by the way, right? I'm not blaming Apple because I don't think that any company, it doesn't matter if it's the most valuable one on earth or the less most valuable one or whatever. And I don't blame those companies because I think it's the political system. But if a political system brings a company or gives a company makes even I don't even blame Foxconn. Maybe even I would probably argue. I don't know. Mostly I blame the Chinese government. I think that's extremely. That's very I just think it's shocking that those videos actually do get out. Also thinking about how servers are set up and that we actually see Chinese content popping up on our social feeds, because just basically those servers are separate in the loop that we use.
Yeah. But always think about, for every video that comes out and that we see, there are probably 50 videos that were censored and successfully buried. So we only see the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
In the past, in one of the past tech reviews, we talked also about this experiment of TikTok starting to use these European offices where the Chinese supervisors were applying a lot of pressure to the employees to stay over the weekend and work day and night. And the Europeans, they did not like it, and they were like 50% of the people were quitting because European labor laws are so different. And I just can't imagine how the pressure is looking in these Chinese factories when we on the European and the US market, we are whining about, there's an iPhone shortage because of the stupid COVID stuff. And in the Chinese factories, they are pressuring these people or putting them into like factory prisons simply because we from the West need our iPhones. So yeah, of course, there's a lot of blame. Sorry?
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, yeah, of course, it's evil Chinese people. But I mean, at the end, it's also us who create this demand and are creating this, make this possible, right? So it's not only the Chinese, it's like globalization. That's how globalization is working.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, this.
Henrike, what did you bring for us?
Yeah, this is a better one from these two articles that I have, which I really found disturbing. It's about mind reading. There's a new method that seems to be able to reconstruct language from brain activity. It's an article from the scientists. First of all, why are they doing this? It's what they have in mind is they try to find a better brain-computer interface that eventually leads to a method of communication for people who are not able to speak or not able to speak anymore. So what's new about that? Because you probably think about Neuralink right away. What's new about this algorithm or decoder, as they also name it in the article, it's the first one to reconstruct language in a non-invasive way. So there is no chip or anything that will be implanted in your brain that helps with that. It's non-invasive, and that's make it quite spooky. I'll try to summarize how they do it or what this test was about. They trained the algorithm with some brain recordings. They had 3 people who listened to podcasts and radio shows for over 16 hours. And based on the material of these 16 hours, this decoder made some predictions of what the readings would look like. And then these guesses were checked against the real-time recordings. And those that matched the most determined the words that then were eventually generated from the decoder. And so the guess and check process led to a story that matched pretty well with the actual story from the recording. So they also mentioned the decoder mostly doesn't know who is doing the things in the stories, but knows what is happening. So the overall meaning of what's going on rather than a word-for-word kind of translation, but like the meaning of a sentence, the thought behind it, this put together matched then pretty well with what was the actual story that these people were listening to. And what's also spooky about that is that the decoder was also able to reconstruct stimuli that didn't use semantic language, meaning they were also watching silent films as well, and participants imagined experience of telling a story, and also this was kind of, recorded and yeah. So this whole mental privacy becomes a thing in that sense, because they also tested if the decoder would work without the willing cooperation of the participants, which was then, no, it's not working if the participant is not willingly, agreeing to that. And they also tried that they get distracted with like counting numbers or imagine animals or something else while listening to the stories, and actually it was tested most effective if they were thinking about animals or naming them. So then the results of the decoder were inaccurate. And it's also working right now for one individual, like just one individual brain scan can be reconstructed, like it's a personalized kind of thing. So as much as it can be a great support for deaf mute people in the future, it can be quite creepy in general, because as it said also in the article, like 20 years ago, if you would have said these researchers that this is possible, they would have laughed, kind of. But now here we are 20 years later, and just imagine, like, since it's speed of research and everything, speed of technology, in 20 years from now, how far we'll probably be with this kind of technology. So this is what is really spooky, when you, like, AI can read your thoughts really. Probably in the end, they're not just trained with your brain, but they will be able to just read it. And that is creepy.
I have two questions. First, was the TechReview podcast one of the podcasts they were played?
Unfortunately,
Definitely,
not.
absolutely. I'm pretty sure it was.
That's very tragic. They should work on that. That's the first one. And the other one, what did Peter Venkman say about that?
It's a square.
Okay, you're too young for that. Okay.
What?
I got it.
Can you please? I have a dumb question.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Okay,
Go for it.
What the F?
What the F? Okay, so Peter Venkman is well-known scientist in the movie Ghostbusters. He's conducting experiments with his students, mostly female, and sometimes person who is the control person, a male one. And if he guesses, if they guess right what he thought or what he presented on a card, they don't get punished. And the ones who do not guess get punished by being zapped with they being electrocuted. What would Peter Venkman say in that regard nowadays?
I watched Ghostbusters, but I do not recall this at all. Like, who portrayed this Peter guy?
Well, Tarek, who portrayed this Peter guy?
You mean the name of the actor?
Yeah.
Yes?
God damn it.
Well, maybe
Okay,
it was
now if you don't know, we can
maybe it was a researcher from, what was the institute we were just talking about?
So
Bill
it was
Murray.
Bill Murray. Peter Venkman is Bill Murray.
Okay, I don't recall his, but anyway, it's a long time ago that I watched Ghostbusters.
Basically one of the very, very first scenes where they are sitting in this lab, and he
That's
holds
before
these
they
cards.
get kicked out of the lab because of that
and he holds these cards, and there are wiggly, squiggly lines or a square, and they had to guess it. It's more like a telepathy experiment than like computer reading the minds. But in terms of what we can actually expect from humanity to misuse this technology for, of course it's made for people who are not able to speak, for example. But at the end, I'm pretty sure that it will get like military usage, where people are putting sensors into my headphones, for example, to read my mind or manipulate hotel beds, so that guests who are sleeping there, their dreams will be recorded or something like that, and they can extract passwords or something while the people are sleeping. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is the way that we are going with this technology.
Thinking about
Okay,
a combination
we need
of
to
your
talk about that.
dead body zombies walking around, being able to read our minds of the people fleeing from them, knowing where we will be going so that they can follow us. This is a very new generation of zombie movie. Yeah. Nice. Based on real events. Not bad.
Yeah, wait for it. It's going to be an 8 pieces Netflix docu in a few years.
Right. It's not science fiction. It's a documentary.
Yeah,
It's a limited series, yeah.
Oh, limited
Tarek's
series,
Cabinet
exactly.
of Curiosities.
We should have, you know what we should have brought? We should have brought the unexpected launch of the öffentlich-rechtliche premium section of the Mediathek. That is scary with the limited series. Yeah, this is
There's
something we
only
should have
so much our
about.
readers and listeners can stand. The öffentlich-rechtlichen are probably not one of, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, it's have fun. It's financed by all of us.
Right, that's
You
true.
still pay $3.99.
That's still not fun.
And now, this.
Alex.
Oh,
Go for
a
it.
fun thing. A fun thing. Since we're already talking about corpses and Alexa and technology and machine learning and AI and stuff, I thought I'd bring a little article from around June, mid end June. Amazon announced that soon, without giving any specific date, we will be able to let Alexa tell us the good night stories through the voices of our dead grandmas, for instance. Can I have a boo because it's Halloween?
Yeah, I wanted to put this onto my soundboard, but I didn't. I can give you this one.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Why is this scary? First of all, dead grandparents actually reading to the kids then the stories, that could be a whole different invest into a therapist for afterwards, because for if they stick to the whole thing and grandma will tell them the story till the end of, I don't know, when they grow up, how do you ever cope with the fact that grandma died eventually and someday beforehand, because you're listening to her every night? On the one hand, for the ones that are not being able to cope with that, then obviously imagine the possibilities. I see so many possibilities in here. We could have our stories told by Sigmund Freud himself when talking about therapists, because we have his voice. We could record it, and we could then let Alexa actually tell the story directly from Sigmund Freud or Michael Jackson or Axel Springer or so many other people from politics and history, whom we have recordings from, which is scary enough. We're in Germany. I'm not mentioning any other things in here, but I think you can imagine what I'm going for.
No.
No?
I have a question, but before
No,
that,
don't,
where are you
don't.
going with this?
Okay.
She's talking about famous Austrian politicians.
Famous.
Yes. Okay, now I'm sorry. I was dumb.
Can you
I shouldn't have
picture
asked.
that? It's just a horrific thought, right? People having that in their living room, telling them stories, news, and everything else that you could, do with it.
Can
and
I ask something?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
Ask me.
So how far away are the stars? No, I have a real question. So when it says it's learning the voice. Right? Is it also?
Yeah.
I mean, is it just the voice? So is it recording the voice and then can bring? I mean, it's a difference if you record me dead. If you record me, I die, and then it's just my tone, right? Or if it's also my pronunciation, the pauses that I make, that kind of stuff.
True.
So if we want Sigmund Freud to tell us why this is weird that we all kind of dressed up for this podcast, would he also tell this to us, like if he actually would be in the room, or would it just a voice sounding like him, like we could do a phone prank with it, but that's it?
They plan to do not just the recording of the voice and the intonation that you have, but also to bring a part, if you want like that, another AI part in when it comes to emotion. So when they tell a positive story, to have it like in a higher voice because it's a very positive story, than when they tell a negative story because it's a spooky thing, and then you go down with the voice and you try to be scary as fuck. And so they are trying to combine that. Let's see how successful they will be with that. But I see lots of problems coming with that along, like the copyrights of the voices will be an issue to my mind. We will have, what about the right to be forgotten? There is this right to be forgotten when you die, like to not be present in the internet anymore and so on. That's a thing, definitely. I mean, even the spider has a right to be forgotten. And again, how to cope with that. And what I see is also a language thing. I do have a completely different voice in English than I have in German, than I have in Romanian, for instance. So I sound completely different. Which grandma mode do you activate tonight? On the other hand...
Is there a right? Is there a right to be forgotten, or is it just something you're saying?
No. There's a right to be forgotten on European level based on GDPR. I can send you I looked it up beforehand. I did my homework.
But this is particularly
for deleting Facebook accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So this one was particularly for the case of Google search, because Google is indexing all information that it's finding, and there were cases where some embarrassing photos and articles from people were indexed, and Google was saying, yeah, we found this, so it's ours. And European law says, no, people in Europe have the right to be forgotten. So if I want these articles that are not existing anymore on the internet be removed from Google search index, then I have the right to do so. And that's why we can now request the deletion of certain things from the Google search index.
That's right. But how do you do that when you're dead?
Yeah, and it's a very, very good point, because so far this was never a thing that like my living voice need to be forgotten, because in the past when I was dead, and someone might have ownership of my recordings, right? But the ownership of my synthetic being, so that, for example, if I'm a singer, I can continue recording music forever, yeah? Who has the rights to my voice?
There is an initiative about that anyway as well. I didn't bring the article for that, but there is something going on in that regard as well when it comes to music. To have Michael Jackson record new, but I don't have right now the reference at hand. But imagine you come home and you set up Alexa in Alexa mode or in a computer, or what's the other one? Echo. Hello Echo. But it's like, hi grandma. And then you start discussing and talking directly to grandma. And I'm speaking now specifically about dead people, like the situation where I can see dead people, I can hear dead people. We're not talking about a fictional avatar that you came up with. It's a fictional voice from someone who willingly gave up their voice in order to be then within Alexa or represented then within Alexa or multiple other assistants, but specifically with dead people. But
there is actually a case, a very recent article from this week, or I think like 2 weeks ago, where a podcast episode was generated between Steve Jobs and Joe Rogan. So it was like a podcast episode that never existed. And because people were able to synthesize not only the voices of Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs, but actually have an AI generate the whole conversation. This is not like having my grandma tell me stories on my Alexa, but actually a real thing where we could generate a podcast episode of Joe Rogan and Albert Einstein, for example. And we will be able to do that. It's already possible. This actually was created like 2 weeks ago.
I mean, do you have other hobbies, Tarek, or is this just your thing to do in your free time?
What, reading articles?
No, coming up with that kind of stuff.
It's not my idea. This is actually I read it.
Joe Rogan interviews Steve Jobs podcast.
Yeah.
AI. Okay. Anyway, it didn't happen on TechReview, so it's not happening.
Then it didn't happen.
If it's not here, no, it didn't happen.
Right.
Okay, but you have to agree now. I'm not leaving. You have to agree that my article was the best one, right?
I have Necrobotics spiders.
We haven't looked into all articles yet, so we cannot make a decision now. Come on.
If our tech review is valuable for you, please give us feedback with a like or a comment. That would help us tremendously, and it wouldn't cost you anything. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, just click on the subscribe button. And now, back to the news. Okay, wait for it.
Okay.
And now, this.
In terms of spooky news, how about this one? Imagine you have another robot, and this one is not built from a dead corpse, but actually from like robot parts, and it works with tentacles. And this is again true engineering. The problem is that when we are building robot hands, it's very, very hard to make them work as human hands, because we have all these nerve endings and this very sensitive touch and feeling in our fingers that make our hands so powerful. And robots don't have that. And so scientists experimented with different forms of grabbing, and what they found out was that tentacles are a genius way to grab stuff. So building robots with tentacles is way easier and more practical than having humanoid hands. So imagine what this means for mass production of robots. For example, these Boston Dynamic dog-like robots. Yeah? And if they are then built to grab stuff from shelves or something, and they get these tentacle heads for grabbing stuff, and I see this coming. Isn't this nightmarish? So, I mean, this is, again, genius. Maybe not as horrific as the reanimated spiders, but this thing is even more likable to happen. Yeah, so the thing is, these tentacles, they are grabbing kind of random, but since they have like 20 tentacles, grabbing things very delicately is very, very easy. So grabbing, pulling it up, placing it somewhere, as long as it is not necessarily need to be very, very precise, this is the way to go. So while in the past we were all dreaming about flying cars and humanoid robots as an iRobot helping us, the real future might look like Boston Dynamic dogs with tentacle heads. This is the future that I'm painting. Take this, scary news.
Already this video is really icky, like watching how it grabs stuff. And then now that you also mentioned the Boston Dynamic dog, because that was an article I almost brought today. But you might have seen the video of the Boston Dynamic dog who's like opening the door by himself and not getting distracted by a human who tries to stop him from opening the door. And then now imagine this with like these tentacles in addition. It's simply disturbing to me as well.
Kudos to the editor of this article. Just reading from it, hanging like straight hair, but when pumped full of air, they become pressurized and curl up like a pigtail. Can you envision this cold spaghetti noodle grabbing you?
I can now. I will dream about this.
Lots of cold spaghetti noodles grabbing you and putting you, let's say, on the operation table. If you have you cannot move yourself, so they have to help you. It's disgusting already.
But to be honest, I still prefer this over the dead spider.
And I have to admit that the dead spider is much further away from what we might need in the future in terms of easy scaling up production. Just as you said at the beginning, Tarek, right? This spider, for that we always need a corpse. So then we would need to implement, we need a corpse market. I go to the corner corpse store.
Corpse market.
We need more corpses.
Excuse me. I need a. Do you maybe have a 180 tall corpse? I can't reach my top shelf in the kitchen. No, but I mean, I'm just thinking. This is much more handy for difficult work, for dangerous work, maybe when it comes to electricity and stuff like that.
Handy, wow, very good.
I didn't see that, but you're right. Yeah. No, so I like the concept, even though I would not want one of these packing my groceries. But I mean, imagine McDonald's, for example, right? I mean, we also like the movie where they figured out how everybody needs to move so they don't clash into each other. In the future, you'll just have a giant tentacle robot there, right? And when you say please extra fries, he will salten your fries. He will at the same time you can pay, and I'm pretty sure there's another customer already on the line with him. So yes, this is the future. Sorry, guys.
Okay, I don't know what to make of that. It's really disturbing. I don't want to be fed by noodles.
It's sterile tentacles.
I don't want that to be my gynecologist.
Wow. Okay.
I had to go there, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, try to envision what
it was
did
already disturbing before, but now.
I think there's a niche for that, Alex. I don't think we should bring it here.
It's not only a niche; it's a whole genre, right? I mean, have you seen Japanese porn? It's basically exactly that.
I don't know. I do not recall.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyway,
I'm a good Christian, sir.
I'm a good Christian. Okay, now we have now all of the things in here. Dead spiders, necromancy, necromantic spiders.
And Japanese
tentacles.
porn! Bingo!
No, it's not. I didn't say porn. I just said we brought religion in here, Cthulhu, and otherwise. What else? Yeah, dead relatives.
And we're not even done
else?
yet. I don't know where this is going.
Yeah.
How much
I
more?
think we
Oh my
really
God.
live up to the scary theme of this episode.
I'm looking so forward to writing down the show notes of this, including animated spider corpses, dead grandma, Japanese porn, and the good way, the good Christian.
I was thinking you actually
now
look forward to the thumbnails on LinkedIn. I'm really looking forward to what you're going to make out of the tentacle discussion we just had.
In comparison with all those nice faces, right?
I mean, in terms of clickbait and everything, we can really think about a very catchy title also for our Spotify audio version of this episode. There's a lot of potential there.
A catchy version. Oh,
Or we just take a picture. Or we just take a picture of an octopus or something and saying like, "This is technology's future." Yeah. You won't believe what he does next.
The third fact is disturbing.
10 tentacles you won't believe.
Vincent, you're next.
Do you recognize I work on social media?
Did you have a
I think you're
pumpkin
next,
spice latte
Vincent.
today? Let me do a little bit of SEO since we're already on the topic. Did you have your pumpkin spice latte today already?
I didn't.
No?
No.
You didn't
No.
either? Okay. No, I didn't, but now we can
I mean, look at your. Or at mine. Maybe we go together, Alex.
Yeah.
I know you have an. Maybe I know you have an event. Maybe I'll bring it there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's
The
bring
Vincent
this.
spiced latte.
But social media
who's next?
is it's me, and social media is an incredible bridge to our next article. Looking at the time, I'm gonna make it quick. It is very scary to me, always very scary to me, to see how again China. I'm sorry, it's China for me.
China!
Exactly. One of the few moments I agree with him. It's China what scares me. And today it's about YouTube and how many channels they remove every week and every month, which are actually linked to propaganda. And it's interesting because they do it a bit differently than I always expected. In 2016, we saw that actually Russia took a big influence on the elections in the United States, and there we saw that it was also a lot of fake news, but it also was a lot of promoted ads that just pushed users into the right direction, and they promoted content that was automatic, that was manually generated by actual user. And this time it's a bit different because what YouTube is realizing right now is that actually the Chinese propaganda machine publishes a lot of entertaining content to gain momentum on those platforms, to then follow up with something that is extremely weird and extremely weirdly turning a lot of topics in the direction of Chinese obviously positive pro-Chinese propaganda. So they remove again 3K channels every month. And there they see, again, a lot of positive content, actually, that's very engaging because they can see, AI can see on the pattern that actually this is pro-Chinese propaganda that would turn into a very, 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 again, a propagandistic content channel in the end. Very interesting.
Is this like a theory or is this a fact?
No, this is happening every month. Here in Q3, you can read it's 96 channels, Russian, 15, Sudanese, 5 channels, Myanmar. This is happening every quarter, every month.
That's a lot.
Yeah, right? And again, they do it with people scrolling through content, moderators, but they also have AI that actually can understand what those content pieces are about. They can see that this is Chinese content, and they can see the dynamics of it, the development, and then the AI flags it as a potential Chinese propagandistic account.
I mean, imagine the amount of work that goes into creating and maintaining these masses of channels.
Also sponsored by Foxconn, maybe. Who knows what they do there?
Yeah, or maybe we don't know it yet, but AI is actually already so powerful that they are not humans creating and maintaining these channels, but it's all generated and automatic.
It's a tentacle.
Yeah, wow.
On the keyboard, right? We always think about AI as this weird software thing, but no, those are like robots with tentacle arms typing on keyboards.
It's a robot
You
brain.
started the tentacle discussion, wasn't me.
No, but I actually, Tarek, I think it must be. I think it's a human effort because I mean, YouTube is a Google tool, and we know how keen Google is on proving that you are actually a human. So with the reCAPTCHA thing, that is practically impossible to bypass with an AI. So I would argue that this, for real, is a human effort. Creating those accounts. Upload then is a bit different, right? You can schedule a lot and everything. I would love to see what provider they work with. The Chinese government has a $15 billion contract with Hootsuite. We schedule around 1 million videos a day. No, but for real, I mean, it's a human effort, which I think is, again, and I think the scary part, to me, the most scary part is A, that there are so many accounts doing that, but B, that there's actually already, an augmented intelligence and analyzing those accounts, understanding that this is Chinese content and understanding where those accounts actually develop to.
Boo.
Yeah, I only have this one.
Thank you.
Also fine.
And now, this.
Henrike.
Alrighty, this is really not new, but the scary thing about this is that it's part of our everyday life, and we easily forget about it, and that's why I thought I bring it today. There has been like an experiment from a Belgian artist, an AI experiment called The Follower. And what he basically did is what's also like companies are already selling to governments for years. He recorded footage of Instagrammable places and sites and scrapped Instagram accounts for photos tagged with a camera location. As you can see below, then you see on the left the influencers or wannabe influencers in front of, that's probably Dublin and like one of the pubs there. And on the right you see camera footage like watching them how they or when they actually like took the picture. And so it's just so easy to forget like what can happen with your data when you tag your Insta photo like in Berlin or in wherever or a specific site, and how easily that, how trackable, is that even a word, you are, and that's why it's simply what we do every day. Also, on even if we have a private account or a public account, it doesn't matter. And it's just a small piece of what, as I said, companies are already selling to governments. But it's like Big Brother is watching us, all of us, all day, every day, following us around in our social media channels and in real life. And it's scary if you start thinking about it. Probably that's why we do not think about it in our daily life.
Can I ask about a term just within this ecosystem? Is this IP cam? Is this what because no, I don't know. IP cam is this term for open source for open cameras? I always thought it's this, but if you don't know, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Yes and no. I believe IP cams is the general term for cameras that are directly addressable through the IP layer. So the webcam itself got an IP address, and you can call this IP address and then receive something like the camera footage from there. So this is usually how you're using cameras in networks or like on public places. So in this direction, yes, you're right. You can use it in this term, but you can also have like an IP cam at your home. So it's not necessarily connected to this whole mass surveillance thing. Yeah. But for example, your general USB webcam that you plug into your computer, it does not get like an individual IP address. So you can't simply address your USB cam with an IP address. That's why not every webcam is automatically an IP cam. Yeah, and regarding this article, my first thought was, of course, regarding, in the positive sense, when I'm thinking about fake news and we have photography and we think, is it real or not? With this kind of matching, it might be easily reproducible what the context of an image is by simply looking at the other 5,000 photos that were taken at the same time. And of course, if I'm now thinking about something like a war zone and someone shoots a picture and we want to validate this, maybe there are not 5,000 cameras at the same time. But if we think about how many video footage and images are generated per minute all over the world, it might actually be possible to validate or invalidate certain things that are sold to the media as facts. Yeah, so this, even though this particular example is an arts project, I think it might be very valuable in the future, and of course can be misused for everything else. Yeah, and it's not only identifying Instagram people, yeah, but you can use the same thing with facial recognition, right? So you simply automatically trace someone by following a certain face, walking through the city by grabbing all the camera footage.
On the other hand, to be positive, or to end this one maybe on a positive note, honestly, the second angle that they've been photographed within is way more advantageous to them. It looks so much better. I'm sorry. Like
the one from the open camera?
Yeah, it's so much better. There is not much to see around, but from a perspective of a photographer, that's the better angle.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can learn something then from the footage taken by them on it. Yeah.
Ask for the footage and do a composite and see how you can work around the situation.
I mean, technically, this is with AI. This is actually possible. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 different camera angles, you can interpolate the rest of the environment and make something like a virtual drone shot and have this virtual camera flying around this couple, because you have like images from all sides. And with the powerful AI, you can do this with only a few images. We know this from this bullet time effect from the Matrix, yeah, and they had a lot of cameras so that this camera was able to virtually move around these actors. But today with AI, we only need a handful of cameras to emulate exactly that effect. Yeah, and I'm not saying that all the places should have like camera footage from all sides, but this would be technically possible if you have a place like that and you have cameras, somehow like 3 or 4 cameras around this couple, they could generate this surrounding shot. Yeah, so there might be
the wedding. You can save the wedding photographer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have static cameras all over the place and generate simply afterwards whatever kind of shoots and camera movements you want to have.
Yeah, that's the point. If you want to have it, right, and that's the positive cases you draw, and I totally agree to that. As you can have, it can have this positive outcome if you agree to that, if you're aware of that, if you want that. But
I mean,
they also do the footage no matter if you want it or not, no matter if you're aware of it or not. And this is kind of easily to be forgotten while you're like online and you publish your stuff, you take your photos, and you do not think about that others are able to, watch as well.
Yeah.
I would argue that whomever is, I mean, this is a project obviously, but people who are on Instagram and tag, geotag, basically, they're go on vacation and let you exactly know where they are, like to the spot. I don't know people like that. I personally don't know people like that, but you never know. I'm joking, right? But I would claim that people who are that comfortable being on Instagram probably do not have that many issues with the second image as well. Whereas people who are not on Instagram or on social media probably do have major issues with that situation. to be recorded in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends, I guess, because I also think you have a lot of people on social media who are, I mean, influencers which is like their daily business to be there and to publish stuff. They are aware, I guess, and they, as you say, probably do not have a problem with this scenario per se. But there are also, I think, a lot of people who are on the platform who use it occasionally, who are not really, they do not think about the consequences. They are not influencers, but they have public profiles and they are not aware that they even can put their profile private or anything. And to them, and I think this is a big mass of people, to be honest, I guess they probably have a problem when they figure out, how trackable, I don't know, they actually
what Tarek could do with their pictures if he wanted to.
Henrike, I agree with you. Actually, I would go one step further even and say the geotagging feature, right? When we say influencers want that, we presume that those influencers geotag so they are discovered more, people maybe see their content. It helps them in growing their social media presence. But for a lot of people, I would argue that the social media geotagging actually is a much more handy way of showing your friends on social media where you are and what you do, and again, where you do it. So I think that the geotagging feature just has a totally different purpose, and here it's being repurposed for something completely different. And because, I mean, even if you have an open profile, if you're not on social media to grow your social media presence, right? You are on social media to be socially active with the people around you, with your followers, with the people you follow. So I would argue that the core idea of social media is being with, again, the group of people you would call your social bubble. And you want to show that social bubble where you are geolocated. And therefore, I would say that this is definitely a misuse of this geolocation because it's repurposing outside of what it was intended to be. And therefore, I would argue that a big group of people on social media actually would have a huge problem with this because it is a totally different purpose. That you consent being publicly recorded because you are in somewhere where security measures are in place, you are private property where people want to secure their own private properties and stuff like that. Okay, that you consent to those kind of things, that's a whole different discussion. That you go to, I don't know, to the United States and you just consent that there's much more recording of you. Because to be frank, here in Germany, I mean, we're still very, very, very conservative with this kind of stuff. But again, okay, you give consent because you are on that spot. However, being made this public, this couple being made this public, us talking about it, even though we don't know these people, and I don't know where this picture was taken, but it looks European or maybe British, I don't know, but this for sure, maybe the journalist of the article, I don't know, but if this is not the case, and I would argue it's not the case, then us talking about it is the living proof that this was not intended to be that way. This was a very long.
Yeah, I think it's Temple Bar in Dublin, actually.
I have one last thought before we have to wrap it up. Since this is already now entering this realm of science fiction, we know this cliche of CSI where someone gets a satellite image and then they zoom in like to a license plate and then they say, now flip the camera and look below the car, and then they say below the car stuff. And this is not how satellite images are working. But if we remember Iron Man 3, the third Iron Man movie, where Tony Stark was actually grabbing all the camera footage from this crime scene where someone exploded. He kind of did exactly this. He was reconstructing the crime scene in the second of when this bomb exploded by grabbing all the cell phone footage from all the tourists all around there. And then he was able to walk through this VR representation of this crime scene when things were happening and seeing the people and how everything explodes and stuff. And I think this is where this is going. Yeah, it's grabbing a snapshot from all existing footage and creating this virtual environment and looking at things at the moment things are happening. And I could imagine that in terms of crime scene investigation, this could also be something. Just grabbing all the footage, all the cameras, all the cell phone images from the tourists and then reconstructing whatever you need to see at this particular moment. Yeah, sci-fi. We are there.
I want to work with him,
Tony Stark.
I mean. Please,
We all want to.
Of course, definitely.
To be fair, Tarek, what you just described was also, I mean, it wasn't it the second Avenger movie where they actually had this Hydra secret project with the flying ships that de facto did exactly that. They accessed every camera, so they were always aware where the criminal is moving to or a potential hazard. So maybe you want to work with Hydra, Alex. Just saying. They also,
I definitely want to work with Tony Stark. Tony Stark,
because they also make very well body supplements like arms and stuff. Yeah. Maybe they also have very nice tentacles for you.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was Captain America and the Winter Soldier, not the Avengers movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, wait. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't the Avengers.
And since you people are in our social bubble,
because I haven't seen that one.
Oh, come on.
You should. This is one of the best Marvel movies.
It's from 2009. It's the what did you?
You're in
spoiler territory.
We need to rewatch all of the Marvel movies. Now I said it. It's gonna happen.
21 pieces. I did it in 2020. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Wait, but Tarek, you said it's the best Captain America? Is this
no, it's one of the...
No. We cannot open the discussion about that right now. Sorry.
See how wide I'm opening my eyes? The pumpkin is opening his eyes.
From my perspective, it is The Winter Soldier is one of the best Marvel movies, but this is my subjective evaluation.
You're too young to decide that, Tarek.
Okay, we are way over time, even though I have a lot of fun and I would love to continue this discussion. We have to wrap it up. There's still a lot of stuff to do tonight. Thank you so much for all these very scary and spooky articles, and I'm looking forward to the next special. I think these special episodes are more fun than anything else, and I really enjoy these filters. I could imagine that in the future we will see these filters more often. So thank you, everyone.
Based on filters from now on.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Maybe right. So let's think about some more topic specials that we can use with filters.
Yes,
have a wonderful evening and see you all in the next Tech Review. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Happy Halloween.